Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum participants and viewers. Welcome to this session of textual study of the Quran. So today we'll begin with verse 44 of Surah Al-Araf. Now a dialogue between the people of paradise and hell is cited here. So it starts off with the words وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ أَصْحَابَ النَّارِ أَنْ قَدْ وَجَدْنَا مَا وَعَدَنَا رَبُّنَا حَقًّا فَهَلْ وَجَدْتُمْ مَا وَعَدَ رَبُّكُمْ حَقًّا قَالُوا نَعَمْ فَأَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ بَيْنَهُمْ اللَّعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الظَّالِمِينَ. At this instance, the dwellers of paradise will call out and ask the dwellers of hell, "We found that the promise God made with us was absolutely true. So, did you also find the promise your Lord made with you to be true?" They will reply, "Yes." Then a caller will call out between them, "The curse of God be on these unjust people." So clearly you can see that this conversation is going to take place on the day of judgment. And the question that, did you also find the promise your Lord made with you to be true? So this is what the people of paradise will be calling and telling the people of hell. Now this question is actually not a question per se. It's meant to humiliate the adversaries. It is answered subsequently, and that too, deliberation shows, is a confession by the wrongdoers after which they became fully worthy of their punishment. It can be estimated through this dialogue between the dwellers of hell and paradise that the power they will have, they will be able to converse with one another. It shows that. So the dwellers of paradise will say that the promise that was made to us has been fulfilled. Now, has your promise also been fulfilled? So as I said, this is not meant for any sort of answer from them. It's meant to make them realize that yes, it must have been fulfilled, because that is what everyone was promised. And such will be this extent that we can see from this conversation, that whenever they want, they will be able to actually converse with one another. الذين يصدون عن سبيل الله ويبغونها عوجا وهم بالآخرة كافرون. God added, on those who today stop people from the way of God, want to create divergence in it, and disbelieve in the hereafter. So the word yasuddun, as you can say, is basically used in the transitive sense, that if it means that they will be the ones who will stop it. So those who stop people from the way of God, they will suffer a similar punishment, and they are the ones who would like to create divergence. And what exactly does this mean? It actually means that they are creating deviations of polytheism and trying to move people away from monotheism. So parallel verses show that basically yasudduna an sabilillahi iwaja Allah wa yabghunaha iwaja means that basically they want people to deviate from the straight path of monotheism and into the labyrinth of polytheism. And then it is said, the real reason, if something that is mentioned immediately after that, is وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ كَافِرُونَ, and disbelieve in the hereafter. So this is what has been mentioned here, and it actually shows that this insertion from God, which actually takes place from الَّذِينَ يَصُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, which means that God added on those today also who stop people from the way of God, that they are the ones who today are stopping people from the path of God. So this is like a conversation that went on in heaven and hell, but again, its implication is something that has been extended to in this world. So whilst this conversation is something that was going on, it is God who added his own word by saying that these were the people who were stopping people from the path of God and who were trying to create deviations in it, and they are the ones who actually reject the hereafter. So this explanation and this declaration actually shows that what the Quraysh was facing was absolutely something that is going to be true. And this is a very common style of the Quran, and I'm sure you must have gotten used to it. In technical terms, we call it tazmeen, which means that if there is something going on, there is a dialogue going on, or maybe a conversation is going on, or even a narrative, at times additional words are added from God, which means that now he has become the speaker, so that anything that can make something that was going to take place in the future makes it connected or makes it linked to what is happening right now. This happens very often in the Quran. So although this is a conversation for the hereafter, but that conversation is linked to the herein as well through this style. وَبَيْنَهُمَا حِجَابٌ وَعَلَى الْأَعْرَافِ رِجَالٌ يَعْرِفُونَ كُلًّا بِسِيمَاهُمْ وَنَادَوْا أَصْحَابَ الْجَنَّةِ أَنْ سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ لَمْ يَدْخُلُوهَا وَهُمْ يَطْمَعُونَ. There will be a curtain wall between these two groups, and on the turrets of the wall there will be some prominent and distinguished people who will recognize each person through his sign, and they will cry out to the dwellers of paradise, peace be to you. They will not have entered paradise, but would be contenders to enter it. So this word hijab actually is referred to the wall that will be between paradise and hell. And we also know that it is mentioned elsewhere in the Quran, batinuhu fi rahma kharijuhu min qibalihi al-azab. This is from Surah Hadid, that between hell and heaven there will be a hijab, a wall, a curtain, and people would not be crossing over from either side, but on that wall there will be turrets. And if you look at the word araf, it actually means height. So it would mean that these people, so there would be a specific group of people who would be very distinguished, very outstanding people, and they will be standing on that wall in those turrets, and they will be actually then talking to both groups. And if we look at the context and placement, we know that the word araf, the way it means height, it actually is used here for turrets, or you can say in our own terminology, there's these observation posts that are normally built between on huge walls when they guard something. We have these observation posts today. So similarly, between heaven and hell, on this wall that will be erected between the two sections, there will be turrets on which these outstanding people would be standing. And why do we say that they would be outstanding or prominent people? Because the word rijal has been used, which is used as a common noun, and the way it is used here, it actually refers to distinguished people. And we know that it would be people of various nations who in this world became outstanding exponents and inviters of good. And then it is said that they will recognize each person through his sign. They will recognize each person through his sign, which means from the sign which will become evident from their faces because of their deeds. And we know from various hadith narratives that Prophet Muhammad will recognize his ummah through the signs of wudu, which will be apparent from their foreheads, and their faces will glisten through it. And we find some indication in the Quran as well. So these people would not have entered heaven as yet, but we know there will be contenders to it. So these words are actually used with regard to their mental situation. In other words, in spite of witnessing the honor and respect for them, out of humility and modesty, they would think that until the final verdict from the Almighty is passed, they still think that they'll be hopeful of His mercy. So these people standing on those turrets, they would have yet to enter paradise, and they would think that they will hopefully enter paradise. Lam yadkhuluha wa hum yut'imun. Although they have not entered paradise as yet, but being distinguished and prominent, in all probability, they would do so. But in their humility, the words are, they would expect hum yat'umun, which means that they would be expecting this, that they also would be entering paradise. But as I said, before the verdict is passed, this is something that will be said to them or said through them as an expression of their humility and modesty. It is then said, وَإِذَا صُرِفَتْ أَبْصَارُهُمْ تِلْقَاءَ أَصْحَابِ النَّارِ قَالُوا رَبَّنَا لَا تَجْعَلْنَا مَعَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. When their sight will be turned to the dwellers of hell, they will instinctively say, Lord, do not make us the companions of these unjust people. So it is evident from the words of the verse that seeing them so engrossed in viewing paradise, they will be asked to take a look at hell as well. So they will be made to turn their faces, surifat absaruhum, they will change the direction of their gaze towards the people of hell. And before, of course, addressing the people of hell, we know they already had addressed the people of paradise by saying, Salamun alaikum, peace be to you. And now their direction would be towards the people of hell, tilqa ashabin nar. And what would they exclaim as a result? Rabbana la taj'alna ma'al qawmi zalimeen. Lord, do not make us the companions of these unjust people. Lord, do not make us the companions of these unjust people. وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ الْأَعْرَافِ رِجَالًا يَعْرِفُونَهُمْ بِسِيمَاهُمْ قَالُوا مَا أَغْنَى عَنْكُمْ جَمْعُكُمْ وَمَا كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. After this, these people of the turrets will call some prominent people of hell who they would recognize through their signs. They will say to them, Ma aghna ankum jam'ukum wa ma kuntum tastakbirun. What benefit did you gain from your groups and from the arrogance that you would show? Just take a look at paradise. So in other words, this is something that they would say in all honesty. So they will be asked that, look, these are the people who are the enemies of the truth. And immediately they'll say, Lord, do not make us part of these companions. Let us not go to them. And these are the words through which they will seek refuge with the Almighty. And also evident from this expression is the horror of the scenes of hell. Because when they will see those scenes, they would immediately say that, God, let not us be part of these people. And of course, then they will be calling some people of the turrets, will call some prominent people. And here too we know the word Rijal has been used. If you look at this verse, وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ الْأَعْرَافِ, the last line, نَادَى أَصْحَابُ الْأَعْرَافِ رِجَالًا. So these Ashabul Araf, these people of the turrets, will call some prominent people of hell. And it is pointed out in the later verses that their signs will distinguish them from others. And they will be recognized that, well, look, this is the Pharaoh, and this is Hitler, or this is Abu Jahl, or this is Abu Lahab, and such per people. So that is something they will be made to see and witness. And they would address them and say, مَا غَنَا عَنْكُمْ جَمْعُكُمْ وَمَا كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. What benefit did you gain from your groups and from the arrogance that you would show? Now, of course, in order to further disparage them, in order to further humiliate them, they will call these prominent people, as I said, like all the prominent people like Genghis Khan maybe, or Halaku Khan, or all those people who created havoc on the face of the earth. And they will call them that what benefit now your own jamiyat, which means your own faction could be of you, which you boasted in the previous world. And the arrogance that you had, where has it now gone? It has just vanished. أَهَؤُلَاءِ الَّذِينَ أَقْسَمْتُمْ لَا يَنَالُهُمُ اللَّهُ بِرَحْمَةٍ. Are these not the people about whom you would repeatedly swear that these people cannot be worthy of any mercy from God? Dwellers of paradise, udkhulul jannah la khawfun alaykum wa la antum tahsanun. Remain in this paradise of yours. There is neither any fear for you, nor will you ever grieve. So, remember, once again, these Ashabul Araf will be addressing prominent peoples of hell and telling them that if you look at these people of paradise, you are the ones who would make fun of them. You would tell them that these are people who are of lowly standards, they are poor, and they are paupers, and they would contend that those who had been given nothing in this world, how can they be given anything in the next world? So they are being told that, look at these people now. You made fun of them, but now they have been enveloped by God's mercy. And then they will again address the dwellers of paradise, and they would say, Udkhulul Jannah, which means that you remain in paradise, be comfortable in paradise. Now, La khawfun alayhim. You were made fun of in the previous world. These people would mock you, they would deride you, but now, La khawfun alaykum wa la antum tahsanun. There is no fear for you, nor will you ever grieve. وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ أَنْ أَفِيدُوا عَلَيْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ أَوْ مِمَّا رَزَقَكُمُ اللَّهُ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ حَرَّمَهُمَا عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. Seeing the dwellers of hell, paradise, these companions of hell will say, pour down on us some of your water, or grant us some sustenance, which God has blessed you with. Now they will reply, God has forbidden both these things to the disbelievers. So the implication is that God has decided with certainty to deprive them totally and entirely from all these blessings. Neither these favors will reach them, nor will they have any access to them. So now, of course, as we have just discussed, that such would be the ordeal there, that just as the people of paradise or dwellers of paradise would be able to talk to the people of hell, conversely, they will now be asking them. And what will they ask them? That please send us some water so that we can cool down ourselves. And afidu alayna min al-ma. Pour down on us loads of water so that we could just put out the fire. Or aw mimma razaqakumullah. Or grant us something of sustenance so that we can eat. But what will the reply be? قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ حَرَّمَهُمَا عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. Indeed, God has forbidden both these things, both the water and both anything to eat. God has forbidden them on the kafirin, on the disbelievers. And who are these? الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا دِينَهُمْ لَهْوًا وَلَعِبًا وَغَرَّتْهُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا فَالْيَوْمَ نَنْسَاهُمْ كَمَا نَسُوا لِقَاءَ يَوْمِهِمْ هَذَا وَمَا كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يَجْحَدُونَ. God added. Now, this is again another example of tazmeen that we were just discussing in our previous section also, that at times there is once again a dialogue taking place, and that dialogue, as we have discussed, was taking place in the hereafter between the dwellers of hell and the dwellers of paradise. And now, in order to make that dialogue relevant, more relevant to people who were living at that time when the Quran was being revealed, this is now an addition made in that conversation by God Himself. Of course, the words are from God. Both the conversation is in the words of God, but it is actually something which of a narration from God. This is how the two groups will speak. Now it is God adding something to their own speech. And what is that? For those who have made their religion an entertainment and amusement, and who were deceived by the life of this world, of the world. So today we shall forget them, the way they forgot this day of their meeting, and the way they used to deny our revelations. So again, it is these people who will then be put to test. They will be told that, remember, you are the ones who made your religion a total play and sport. Deenahum lahwan wa la'iba. It was as if you mocked at it. You did not give it any attention. And what happened? Gharrathumul hayatud dunya. The life of that world, it actually misled them. It deceived them. They were so lured, they were so dazzled and dazed by the lures and the shining objects of this world that they totally succumbed to it. And then they are being told, فَالْيَوْمَ نَنْسَاهُمْ كَمَا نَسُوا لِقَاءَ يَوْمِهِمْ هَذَا. So today we shall forget them, which of course means that it does not mean that God is going to forget them. It actually means that God is going to ignore them. The word forget, as we all know in this sense, it actually means that they shall not be paid heed to. They shall not be paid any attention to. So the way they paid no attention to God in the previous world, the way they ignored God. So God says, فَالْيَوْمَ نَنْسَاهُمْ. Today we will be the ones who are going to ignore them for this attitude and demeanor. وَمَا كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يَجْحَدُونَ. And the way they used to deny our revelations. So they are the ones who were given this attitude. They were displayed this attitude. They are the ones who will be forgotten in the sense that they will be absolutely, entirely and totally ignored by God Himself. And as a result, that would be a punishment to them. And the other crime that is said here is, or stated here is, وَمَا كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يَجْحَدُونَ. And they used to deny God's revelations. They used to deny our revelations. That is what God is telling them. وَلَقَدْ جِئْنَاهُمْ بِكِتَابٍ فَصَّلْنَاهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ هُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. At this juncture, O Prophet, we have brought forth to these people of your nation a book which we have explained on the basis of certain knowledge as a means of guidance and mercy for those who believe. Now, once again, this conversation that is cited between the dwellers of paradise and hell now shifts into a new format. So here onwards, we can see that discourse is directly addressed to the Quraysh. It is as if, as the discourse was moving along, the mention of hell and heaven came. That was we studied that in our previous session. And as soon as that mention arose, a description of hell and heaven was then given, and the conversation that took place or was going to take place one day. And during this conversation, sentences were added so that whatever is being said on that day is now connected to the situation of this day. And now the discourse once again returns to the Quraysh. And this is, as you know, that they are the real primary addressees. They are the real addressees of this surah. And this is the theme of the surah also that we discussed, that the Quraysh are warned, they are jolted, they are told that this is the last time that this message is going to tell them what to do, and then they will have to suffer the consequences. So, وَلَقَدْ جِئْنَاهُمْ بِكِتَابٍ فَصَّلْنَاهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ هُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. And it is these people of your nation. Remember, it is the Prophet who who's been addressed here. وَلَقَدْ جِئْنَاهُمْ, and we came with this book, فَصَّلْنَاهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ, which has explained, عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ هُدَى وَرَحْمَةٍ, on the basis of certain knowledge. It explains everything on the basis of absolute knowledge. And furthermore, that book is Hudan wa Rahma. It is guidance and it is mercy. For whom? لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ, for those who want to believe, or those who believe. So this is a book we have explained on the basis of certain knowledge. On the basis of certain knowledge, it actually means that what has been said is said with absolute certainty. In the form of the Quran, a book has come to them in which God, in the light of certain knowledge, has expounded all issues, the acceptance of which and practically following which is essential for success in the hereafter. And that is why the words are very emphatic. فَصَّلْنَاهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ, that we have explained every relevant detail, ala ilmin, on the basis of certain knowledge. And moreover, it's Hudan wa Rahma liqawmin yu'minun. Now, those who intend to believe, for them, this book is Hudan, it's guidance, wa Rahma, mercy. And it's guidance and mercy, but the thing is that you have to be a person who would like to believe, who has intention to believe, who would like to know more about it, and not ones who would like to reject it. And then it is said, هَلْ يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَّا تَأْوِيلَهُ يَوْمَ يَأْتِي تَأْوِيلُهُ يَقُولُ الَّذِينَ نَسُوهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ قَدْ جَاءَتْ رُسُلُ رَبِّنَا بِالْحَقِّ فَهَلْ لَنَا مِنْ شُفَعَاءَ فَيَشْفَعُوا لَنَا أَوْ نُرَدُّ فَنَعْمَلَ غَيْرَ الَّذِي كُنَّا نَعْمَلُ قَدْ خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَزَلَّ عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَفْتَرُونَ. Do they only wait to see the reality of what they are being informed? The day its reality comes forth, these people who had ignored it earlier will say, indeed, the messengers sent by our Lord had brought the absolute truth. Then, are there any intercessors who may intercede in our favor? Or is there a possibility that we may be returned so that we do the opposite to what they have been doing? So again, this is something which is a very, very emphatically stated statement, or a very emphatic assertion on the part of God, that are they waiting for something else? Do they want to see the reality of what they have been informed? So they should know the day that reality is going to come forth, which means when the day of judgment is going to manifest itself. يَقُولُ الَّذِينَ نَسُوهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ, that those who had been ignored, or these people who had ignored it earlier, will say, what will they say? قَدْ جَاءَتْ رُسُولُ رَبِّنَا بِالْحَقِّ, indeed the messengers sent by our Lord had brought the absolute truth. So see, this is like a confession that they will make. When they will be inflicted with this punishment, they would have no way to go. They would be totally cornered. And they will confess and acknowledge, yes, messengers did come to us. قَدْ جَاءَتْ رُسُولُ رَبِّنَا بِالْحَقِّ. They would say, the messengers of our Lord. Remember, in the previous world, they were disputing with God Himself that He has partners, He has deities who associate particular assignments with Him. No. On the day of judgment, they absolutely would know that this was never the case. So they are Rusulu Rabbina, they are messengers of our Lord, and they came with the truth. We were the ones who objected. We were the ones who raised objections. We were the ones who connived, conspired, and did all sorts of things to bring down the truth. But now we do acknowledge. فَهَلْ لَنَا مِنْ شُفَعَاءَ فَيَشْفَعُوا لَنَا. Then are there any intercessors who may intercede in our favor? Or is there a possibility that we may be returned so that we do the opposite to what we have been doing? So look at the utter helplessness of these people. They would say that, is there any intercessor who could intercede for us now? Or please allow us to go back in the previous world so that we could do differently what we actually did. Maybe we would do something in a different way. So please give us another chance. Give us another chance. قَدْ خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَزَلَّ عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَفْتَرُونَ. Alas, these people inflicted themselves with loss, and the falsehood they used to invent have all vanished. So this is something which is mentioned at a number of places in the Quran, that they would wish for themselves to be sent back and be given another chance. Elsewhere, the Quran has said that even if we had accepted their request, their impeach, that the way they are imploring and impeach, they would have gone back and did exactly the same as they had done earlier. They would never have done what they are now claiming, that if they had been given a second chance, they would have mended their affairs. No, this is not going to happen. God says such wretched are these people that even if they are given a second chance, they will do the same. Inna rabbakumul lazi khalaqas samawati wal ard fi sittati ayyam summa istawa 'ala al-'arsh yughshi al-layla an-nahara yatlubuhu hasisa wash-shamsa wal-qamara wan-nujuma musakhkharatin bi amri ala lahul khalqu wal-amr tabarakallahu rabbul alamin. These are so these verses, they have such a fantastic and such a potent effect if you have the original sense of Arabic in you, that you'll just have goosebumps on your skin. So the words are, people, this is a reality, that your Lord is the God who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, then sat on his throne. He covers the day with the night, which comes running after it. And he has created the sun, the moon, and the stars, which follow his orders. Listen, he alone creates, and he alone governs. Very blessed is God, Lord of the worlds. So, first of all, we have to understand that the 6 days that are mentioned here, these are the days of God, about which the Quran has specified that one day of God is equal to 1,000 human years, and at times equal to 50,000 human years in some cases. This is mentioned in the Quran. So when it says that God has created this heaven, this earth, these heavens and this earth in 6 days, it actually refers to 6 days of God, not 6 days, 6 human days. So the next thing which is mentioned is summastawa ala al-arsh. After creating humankind, after creating this world, he did not go and sit in oblivion. He did not become aloof. He did not consign affairs of this universe to their alleged associates and intercessors, whom they regard to be the Lord on the basis and then worship them. No, the Almighty himself started to look after the affairs of this universe. Summastawa ala al-arsh. He was the one who was governing. He did not create, but he is also someone who is governing them. He is looking after the affairs of this universe. He could have created this universe in the blink of an eye, even by his word kun. But his wisdom entailed that he should create this world gradually and in 6 stages, so that besides his perfect power, the majesties of his providence and mercy become evident to these people. And they are also able to comprehend their Creator as their Lord without all his eternal mercies. So remember, what is being said here is, why did God go through this elaborate arrangement of creating mankind, or creating the heavens and the earth in 6 stages, or which is of course 6 days of God's own counting? So that, he could have done it in a single instant, in the blink of an eye, but he did not do that. He chose to make these things gradually, because the more this gradual creation phenomena, the more perfection it will boast of itself, the more it will bring out the majesty and the creativity of God, so that they become cognizant of their God, how he is someone beyond whose control is nothing. So the question is, then why do winds blow and clouds gather and rains descend and land is tilled and seeds are sown and spikes they sprout and crops they grow luxuriantly, and then seeds appear in them, then warm winds blow to warm these seeds, and then after almost some months of warm and cold phases, a seed of wheat reaches a farmer's storehouse. This is how it has been depicted. And all this is because in this way, each and every particle and object of this wide world becomes a treasure of the signs of God's creativity and his marvel, the marvel of his power and wisdom. And now wherever a person looks, he looks up, he looks right, he looks towards the left, he becomes cognizant of God's person. In his mind and his eyes become absolutely alert. And a single object changes form and shape in so many ways in order to attract our attention. If you look the way a seed sprouts, the way it grows and becomes a blossoming tree, the stages it passes through, it is so eye-catching, especially if you live in the countryside, that you cannot but help marvel at this stupendous system that God has arranged. So that is what is mentioned here. And then it is said, yughshil layl an-nahar. Yughshil layl an-nahar. That he covers the day with the night, which comes running after it, which of course is referring to the immense precision immense precision, the night and day, they come one after the other. And the sun and the moon, which follow his orders, they are not the slightest, they don't have the slightest of their own will. These idolaters, they worship the sun, they worship the moon, and they don't know that the sun and the moon themselves are subservient to God. He alone creates and he alone governs. So there is no one who is partner in his creation, nor there is anyone who is partner in governing the affairs of his creatures. He alone is the creator. He alone is the master. Every nook and corner of this universe is under his jurisdiction and control. No angel, no jinn, no prophet, no saint has any share whatsoever in this governance. And then it is said, Allah lahul khalqu wal amr. He alone creates and he alone governs. And Tabarakallahu Rabbul Alameen, very blessed is God, Lord of your worlds. There is absolutely no need to find out means and intermediaries or intercessors to reach him. Besides his exaltedness and power, he also has unfathomable mercy and blessings. This is what the Quran says, that he might be someone who has such stupendous power of creativity, something which is, it looks beyond us, but at the same time, he is accessible to us. No intermediary is required to reach him. And this is actually meant to dispel the notion that he is inaccessible. And this is actually a misconception that has often misled many idolatrous nations, because they increased the extent of God's loftiness and power so much, they elevated his loftiness so much, that his mercy and blessings were sidelined as a result. And that is why it was said, Tabarakallahu Rabbul Alameen. The result of this misconception was that it was thought that it was impossible for human beings to access him, and therefore some means were required to reach him. And this erroneous concept about the attributes of God is a major factor, if you have studied the Quran deeply, and I'm sure you all have, and still reading, that one of the major factors for the birth of polytheism is this concept that God has become aloof. He needs to be accessed through other deities or through other intermediaries. And if they are pleased with them, then God will also be pleased with them, and they will be able to, if they are able to convince their intermediaries, if they are able to appease them in any way, then they will speak on their favor, on their behalf on the day of judgment. So, Ud'u Rabbakum tadarru'an wa khufya. Ud'u Rabbakum, this is another very powerful verse. Ud'u Rabbakum tadarru'an wa khufya, innahu la yuhibbul mu'tadeen. Invoke your Lord while beseeching him and calling him in private. This is what is befitting before him, because he does not like those who cross limits. So, again, the implication is that when he is the creator and he is the governor, there's absolutely no option. This is not a possibility of being arrogant before him. Why would you do that? So, Ud'u Rabbakum tadarru'an wa khufya. So, you call him in private and you call him while beseeching him. Moreover, this humility should have this dignity, and the humility that is expected of us must have this dignity and sincerity as well. It is people who must invoke God. They are required to invoke God in private instead of showing it to others. He knows the state of their hearts. He is aware of their whispers. He knows what passes by their minds. They don't need to express this before other people. He hears and knows all. And then, innahu la yuhibbul mu'tadeen, that those who cross limits, he does not like them. وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا وَادْعُوهُ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا إِنَّ رَحْمَةَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ مِّنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And do not spread disorder in the land after it has been set right, and call him alone in both states of fear and of hope. This is the upright path. Tread on it only, because the mercy of God is close to those who are thorough. Now, the Quran has used this expression, tufsidu fil ardi ba'da islahiha, that do not spread disorder, for rebelliousness against the collective system. When a person is doing fasad fil ard, spreading disorder, he is actually rebelling against the system, the collective system. And also it is used for the rebelliousness which is shown against God and his messengers. Now, here if you look at the context, it is actually used in the second meaning, that you are spreading this rebelliousness against God and his messengers. So when a human being begins his life on this earth, it was without disorder. Later also it was repeatedly cleansed of this disorder when messengers conclusively communicated the truth to the people. So this is how history has informed us as well. In the beginning, mankind was one. Kana nasu ummatan wahida. One, they were one. And then they made themselves differ with each other. بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُمْ, because of malice, because of arrogance. And messengers were sent time and again to set them right. And time and again, they once again accepted, maybe temporarily, and then they rebelled once again. And that is what is pointed out here, that don't spread this collective rebelliousness once it has been set right. So it is stated that people should not create disorder once these messengers have done their job, because if they do so, then that is something that's going to ultimately really incite the wrath of God. And you call them in states of fear and hope, both fear and hope. So people should invoke him for things that are desirous of and seek the refuge about things they want to remain protected from. And of course, they have to understand that they should regard only God to be the creator of the vast universe, and he alone is the governor. And that is once again what is being said here in Rahmatullahi Qareebum min al-Muhsineen. Now this is the upright path, tread on it, because only the mercy of God is close to those who are thorough. And we know, viewers, that it is evident from these verses that to be befitting and to be thorough and to be worthy of God's mercy, a person should devote himself to God in both fear and in hope. Tadarrun wa khufya. In yatma'un, as the Quran says, khawfan wa tamara. Both in states of fear and of hope. We live between hope and fear. We hope for mercy and we fear his anger. And this is how we spend our time, we spend our nights. We would like to invoke him, we would like to call him in this hope to forgive us, and in this fear that we are vulnerable. We have to still do a lot. And a person must devote himself to God in both these situations if he has to overcome difficulties. And this is especially true for the night prayer, the tahajjud prayer, to stand up before him, to call upon him, to ask him for his mercy, and to thank him for his tremendous favors. So we now end this discussion on verse 56. Inshallah, in our next session, we'll continue from here. But for the moment, if you have any questions regarding the passage that we have read, you have the opportunity to raise them.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saleem. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I have a couple of chat questions. I will be asking those first, and then we'll move on to the questions that have been with the raised hands. So, Dr. Saleem, there's one question. How many years is the year of God? The person who's asking, I think, missed it.
1,000 human years equals to 1 year of God. And at another instance, it is said that there are certain other days that are equivalent to 50,000 years that make one God day. So, in general, these are 1,000 human years that make 1 day of God. But in some specific circumstances, like the ones in which Gabriel comes before God, we know that it is mentioned that it is 50,000 earth years that make 1 day of God.
Okay. Then I have another question. In verse 55, it is recommended to pray in private. That's the question. Is that
so? It says, "Ud'u rabbakum tadarrun wa khufya." It's not that you have to pray only in private. I mean, it is that you call your Lord, call God while beseeching him and calling him in private. I mean, something that you can really do when you beseech God, when you are, I mean, you're full of emotions, when you would like to talk to him in a one-to-one way. So for that, it is recommended that you do that in private. I mean, if you have to talk your heart out, if you have to beseech God, if you have to implore before him, if you have to ask for his pardon, so that is, it's not ruling out the fact that you cannot, have a collective dua as well. So there are instances for that as well. But in particular, when the situation is such that you'd like to beseech him in fear and in hope and ask for his forgiveness, for those times, for those instances, it is more recommended that it be done in private.
बड़ी खूबसूरत आयात हैं ये सूरह अराफ की, जिसमें मतलब अल्लाह ताला ने किस तरह बताया है कि असहाबे अराफ जो हैं वो दोनों तरफ देख रहे होंगे, उनसे बात भी कर रहे होंगे। बहुत ही खूबसूरत आयात हैं। डॉक्टर साहब, सवाल तो अजीब सा है, लेकिन मुख्तलिफ और दूसरी आयात में भी हम देखते हैं कि जहन्नम वाले जो है वो बातें कर रहे होंगे और लड़ झगड़ रहे होंगे, और उनको कभी कांटों वाला खाना खिलाने के लिए धुएं वाले बादल में और मुख्तलिफ जगहों पे उनको घुमाया जा रहा होगा, फिर वापस जहन्नम में। तो मुझे पूछना था कि क्या ये इतने पेन प्रूफ होंगे कि वो सवाल का जवाब दे सकें और बातचीत कर सकें तकलीफ वाली जगह पर?
Of course. So this does seem odd that when they will be, burning in hell, and maybe the scalding water would be poured on them, and still they will be in a position to converse with the dwellers of paradise. And this actually does seem odd. But this is God's creation, this is God's world. The way He would create people would be in this, I would say, circumstance, in this situation, that in spite of passing through these tremendous afflictions, they'll still have some awareness left, due to which they will be able to convey or converse with the companions of paradise. And remember, there will be just a single wall, bainahuma barzakh, which means that there will be a single wall between heaven and hell. And I mean, it does seem that they'll be able to witness one another, though the good that they were being blessed with and the evil that they are being inflicted with, and have a conversation as well. And of course, this would be in order to tell them that the promise that they were made in the previous world has now been fulfilled. So the dwellers of hell will see that the promise that was made with people whom they made fun of in the previous world is now being fulfilled. And the dwellers of heaven would see that those people who made fun of them, who killed them, who tortured them, who subjected them to immense persecution, are now receiving this punishment. So it would be something that would add insult to injury in their case.
दोस्तों आजकल के हम लोगों के जमाने के लोगों के लिए तो ये समझना इतना मुश्किल नहीं है, जिस तरह हम सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू और लाइव सारी बातचीत कर रहे होते हैं, तो वो तो एक पलक झपक में जन्नत को देख लेंगे और एक पलक झपकने में जहन्नम को, तो हम इतना मुश्किल.
Yes, but you see, witnessing and observing something is one thing, and to freely talk or maybe talk to the other section whilst being afflicted with tremendous hardships, that's another thing. I mean, I would have personally, I do wonder at this passage of the Quran as well, that personally I would think that these dwellers of hell would be so, I mean, in so much affliction that they would have no sense of what's going on beyond them. So they would be too busy in themselves, and still they would be able to converse. Yes.
क्योंकि डॉक्टर साहब यहाँ तो दुनिया में इंसान की खाल खत्म हुई और वो भी खत्म हो जाता है ना, तो वहाँ तो ऐसी कोई चीज नहीं होगी, वो दोबारा नहीं खाल आ जाएगी.
So that is what the Quran has said in Surah Nisa, kullama nazidat juluduhum baddalnahum juludan akhar. And when the skin would be burnt, it will not be the end. They will be given a new skin, and then that would be burnt, and so on and so forth. This would continue, and you can just imagine the horror of this.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Amar, please ask a question. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sahab, just about the last few verses of today's passage, I was thinking, and it made me think about this incident where I was meeting this guy who had a Sufistic propensity, and when I was in an argument with him, he turned around and said to me that you are a Wahhabi, and I didn't understand what that meant, and I said basically I don't even know what Wahhabism is. I'm just trying to follow what I think is the right thing to do. What that made me think, and these verses as well, just the end of these verses, Dr. Sahab, is that it seems that humankind's natural propensity is then shirk. Whereas God tells us in the Quran that we have hardwired the truth into you, and everybody is born with that knowledge.
I mean, if you look at the context, it's not that they were born with this disposition. So see, the Quran is constantly reminding them that they were born with a pure disposition. They were born with this fact that God had never informed them that He has partners. What they are doing has absolutely no basis. It's iftara Allah. It's a falsehood that they are deputing. You see, the Quran does not accept this. It does not say that it is something that mankind began their journey with. Kanan nasu ummatan wahida. People were one. They had one God. They had the imagination and their own action. They vouch for the fact that they believe in one God. And then fakhtalafu. Then differences arose between them. And there were things like, for example, we just discussed one of them, that the attributes of God, they became a means of discussion. And one of the conclusions was that He is so beyond us, He is so away from us that He is not accessible. And because of that, we need some intermediaries, some intercessors to reach Him. So we need to please them so that they can convey our requests to God. So this is something that arose, subsequently. If you look at, don't look at the immediate context, because the immediate context is talking about people who had already been led astray. If you look at other parts of the Quran, you'll find out that humankind was given this mission, this torch of monotheism at the very start. And Alastu bi Rabbikum, of course, that was something that had been their covenant with God from the very start. I mean, this is something that they had known from their own intuition. It was because of some erroneous concepts that led them from monotheism into these labyrinths of polytheism.
Dr. Saleem, I have a chat question. Is it not a contradictory statement of Quran that one day of Allah is 1,000 years and 50,000 years?
No, it's not the contract, because it says that they are mostly his years are equal to 1,000 years, 1,000 human years, but there are some days, some instances in which the day count becomes 50,000. And that is not related to us. For example, it is said, Khamsina Alfa Sana, that when Gabriel descends to God to present the accounts of people or to, for whatever task he has, that particular day for them becomes of 50,000 years. So, in normal purposes, every God year is like 1,000 human years. Every day of God is 1,000 human years.
Then I have another chat question. So Araf doesn't mean the land of Arafat?
No, certainly not.
Naushad Shafkat Sahab, please ask your question.
Yes, Dr. The terrifying, absolutely horrifying punishments that the people of hell would be having, and still then asking people of heaven about it. Could there be a possibility that there would be gaps where the punishment would stop for them to ponder and look at their neighbors?
That is something that we cannot say for certainty, because on the contrary, what we have from the Quran is that they will be gripped with an enhancing punishment. So there are passages in the Quran which tell us that this punishment is going to increase by the moment. So, it's difficult to imagine how this conversation would even begin when they will be afflicted with such horrible scenarios. So I think this is something that we maybe are not being able to imagine with our limited powers at this moment.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. No more chat questions and no more raised hands, so we can move to the idiomatic translation.
Okay, so starting off with the literal and idiomatic translation, and I would like to remind you once again that this is a pain that I take for you, especially because you see, as students of the Quran, I would like to make you conversant with the language so much that without knowing Arabic, you are able to understand maybe 60 to 70% through this literal translation. But this can only happen if you note down the vocabulary, if you are continuously doing this practice. Once we finish with this as well, like I do it once with you, if you could do it once with your own selves in private, you can look at some of the vocabulary and then try to translate on your own, so that this is something that could ultimately lead you to this goal, which I really cherish for all of you, that you are able to understand the Quran even without knowing Arabic. So if you know some vocabulary and if you go consistently with this practice of translating the sense, then even without knowing Arabic, you can pretty much understand a better part of the Quran. And that's a very, very, I would say, a target that I would like all of you to achieve as much as possible. So please do note down the vocabulary and very diligently follow the sense of translation the way it is done. And there are so many similar words, and there are so many words that you'll find in your Urdu language which are similar to the English language as well, but not to confuse them, because there are certain Arabic words which have an absolutely different meaning in what they have in the Urdu language. So that's also a disclaimer. So wanada ashabul jannah, wa and nada, they will call out. Nada, you have this word in Urdu, munadi. So munadi is from the same word, so to call out, to summon someone. Wanada ashabul jannah. Ashabul jannah is the dwellers of paradise, the companions of paradise. Jannah is paradise, and ashab are the companions or the dwellers of paradise. And who will they call out? Ashab an-nar, the dwellers of nar, the dwellers of fire. An, that, qad, indeed, wajadna, we found, ma wa'adana, what was promised to us, Rabbuna, by our Lord, haqqa, truthful. So what will they say to the people of hell? They will say that we found the promise that was made by our Lord to us to be haqqa, to be true. We found that to be true. Fa, therefore, hal, do, wajadtum, did you also find, ma, that, wa'ada, was the promise, rabbukum, your Lord, haqqa, to be true. So we found that God had fulfilled the promise with us. فَهَلْ وَجَدْتُمْ, did you also find? Wajada means to find. Wajadtum, you found. Ma wa'ada, what was promised. By Rabbukum, by your Lord. Hakka, to be truthful. Qalu, they will reply. Na'am, yes, we found this promise to be true as well. فَأَذَّنَا مُؤَذِّنٌ. Fa, therefore, Azzana, announce. Mu'azzinun, announcer. Bainahum, between them. An, that. La'natullah, God's curse. Ala, upon. Al-Zalimeen, the unjust. So, qalu na'am fa'azzana mu'azzin would mean then a summoner will summon between them. He will announce between them. And what will be the announcement? La'natullahi al-zalimeen, that the curse of God upon al-zalimeen, the unjust. Allazina, those who yasudduna, who stop, an, from, sabilillah, the path of God. Those who stop from the path of God. Obviously it means stop people from the path of God. Wa, and yabghunaha, they find in it iwaja, divergence. Find it in divergence actually means they create divergence in it. They would like to create divergence. They would like to lead people astray. So sabilillah, of course, means the way of God, referring to tawheed or monotheism. And what would these people do? They would stop people, yasudduna, from the sabil of God, from the way of God. And they would like to create divergence in that way, which means they would like to lead people away from that path. Wa, and hum, they, bil akhirati, regarding the hereafter, kafirun, rejectors. And they will be those who are the rejectors of akhirah, of the hereafter. Wa, and bainahuma, between them. Baina, between. Huma, them. Between them, hijab. Hijab, a curtain. Between them will be a curtain. So don't think about the curtains that we have today. It actually refers to a barrier. A barrier. So that is the connotation. Wa, and alal araf, upon the turrets. So araf basically, as we know, is the plural of urf, and this is referring to those observation posts. Alal araf, upon those observation posts, upon those turrets. Rijalun, they would be prominent people. Ya'rifuna kullan bisimahum, who will recognize each person. Ya'rifuna kullan, ya'rifuna, they will recognize. Kullan, every person. Bisima, sima means your forehead. Hum, their forehead. So there will be people who would recognize every person. Kullan, bisimahum, by their forehead. Sima means forehead. Him, their forehead. Wa, and nadaw. Nadaw means call out. Ashabul Jannah, the dwellers of paradise. The dwellers of paradise will call out, an, that, salamun alaykum. Salamun, peace, alaykum, to you. So these, they will call out to the dwellers of paradise. I beg your pardon, let me just correct my translation. Nadaw, of course, means that these people who would be standing on the turrets, they will call out to the Ashabul Jannah, to the dwellers of paradise. And what would they call out to them? Salamun alaykum. Salamun alaykum. Salamun, peace, alaykum, upon you. So peace be upon you. Lam, as yet, not. Yadkhuluha, they would have entered. Dakhala, yadkhulu, dakhil, we know this in Arabic and in Urdu also, to enter something. Yadkhuluha, ha is referring to the paradise. Wa, and hum, they would be yatma'un, expectorant. They would expect it, they would expect themselves to enter paradise. So what is said is that lam yudkhuluha, these people who would be standing on the observation posts, the turrets, these prominent people, would not have entered paradise. Lam yadkhuluha, they would not have entered paradise as yet. Wahum yatma'un, but they would be expecting that they would have the tama, they would have the expectancy that yes, one day or one moment or once this whole process is finished, they would also enter paradise. Wa, and iza, when, sorifat, to turn, absaruhum, their eyes. So when their eyes will be turned away, tilqa means towards, ashaban nar, the dwellers of hell. So when their eyes will be turned towards, tilqa, towards ashaban nar, to the dwellers of hell, qalu, these people, who, these dwellers, these people on the turrets, will say, qalu, they will say, Rabbana, our Lord, la, not, taj'alna, make us, ma'a, among, al-qawm, people, al-zalimin, unjust. So these unjust people referring to the dwellers of hell. So they would say, Rabbana, O Lord, la taj'alna, do not make us, ma'al qawm az-zalimin, with these unjust people, or these people who have transgressed. Wa nada ashabul araf, wa, and nada, call out, ashabul araf, these people on the turrets, rijalan, some prominent people, ya'rifunahum, whom they will recognize. Ya'rifun means to recognize, whom, them. So these people of the araf, these people on the turrets will call out to some prominent people who they will recognize, bisimahum, by their foreheads. This word has passed before as well. Sima, foreheads, him, whom, theirs. They would recognize them by their foreheads. And what will they say? Qalu, ma, what? Aghna, beneficial, ankum, away from you. Jam'ukum would mean their fraternity or their faction. So ma aghna ankum would mean that what benefit did you gain? Ma aghna ankum is like a composite phrase that actually means what benefit did you gain, or what benefit was gained, jam'ukum, by your faction. Wa, and ma, that, kuntum, you were, tastakbirun, arrogant. Istikbar, again a word that has found mention in Urdu language as well. So istikbar means arrogance. Wa ma kuntum tastakbirun, and from the arrogance that you would show. So what benefit did you gain from your fraternity? Wa ma aghna ankum jam'ukum, your fraternity or your faction. And what benefit did you gain? Wa ma kuntum tastakbirun, from the arrogance, tastakbirun, the arrogance that you showed. Ahaulai allazina aqsamtum, ahaulai, are these, allazina, those who, aqsamtum, who would swear. Ahaulai allazina aqsamtum, who would swear, la yanaluhum, la, not, yanaluhum, reach, Allah, God, birahma, His mercy. So in other words, that is it not these people about whom, ahaulai allazina aqsamtum, you would swear that la yanaluhumullahu rahma, la, not, yanaluhum, reach them, Allah, God, rahma, His rahma. That are these people who would swear by God that God's rahma, God's mercy will not reach them. Udkhulul jannah, udkhulu, enter. Here it actually means remain, because they are already in paradise and they are just asking him to remain in paradise. This is another usage of the word in which something is already taken place, but you still use the word as if it has not taken place in order to connote permanency. So udkhulu is actually not that you enter paradise now, it actually means that they have already entered. Now they can stay they can stay put in paradise. Udkhulul jannah, you can stay put in paradise. La, not, khawfun, fear, alaykum, upon you, wa, and, la, not, antum, tahzanun, sorrowful. So there will be no fear upon you and you will not be sorrowful. Wa nada ashabun nar, wa, and, nada, call out, ashabun nar, people of the fire, people of hell, ashabul jannah, they will call out to the ashabul jannah, they will call out to the people of paradise. What will they say? An, that, afidu, pour, alayna, upon us, pour upon us, minal ma, from some water. Or, they would actually say that please spill some water on us. Aw, or mimma, from among, razaqakumullah, what God has given you as rizq, as sustenance. So please give us some water so that we can extinguish the fire that has been ignited upon us, or give us some food that you have from God. Mimma, from, razaqakumullah, what God has given you from sustenance, please give that to us also. Alu, they will reply, inna, indeed, Allah, God, harramahuma, harrama has regarded to be prohibited, huma, upon both of them. He's regarded both of these things. What are these two things? Water and sustenance. Allah, upon, al-kafirin, these disbelievers. So they will reply that indeed God has forbidden both these things, water and sustenance, upon the rejectors. And who are these? Allazina, those who ittakhazu, who made deenahum, their religion, lahwa, a sport, wa, and la'iba, and an entertainment, wa, and gharrathum, deceived them, al-hayatud dunya, the life of this world. So they are those who made their deen, their religion, lahwa and la'iba, sport and entertainment. And they are the ones, gharrathum al-hayatud dunya, gharra, which means deceived, whom, them, al-hayatud dunya, the life of this world. So they are the ones whom the life of this world deceived. Fa, therefore, al-yawm, today, nansahum, we shall forget whom, them. We shall forget them. Whom is them and nansa is we shall forget. Today, so today we will forget them. So remember, this is the day of judgment that is being spoken of. Kama, the way, nasu, they forgot, liqa, the meeting, yawmihim, this day of theirs. So just as they forgot the meeting of this day, today nansahum, today God says we will forget them. Kama, the way, nasu, the way they forgot, liqa yawmihim haza, the meeting of this day. So just as they forgot the meeting of this day in this previous world, today we will forget them. Wama kanu, and makanu, what they, be ayatina, regarding our revelations, yajhadun, denying. So the way they have been denying our revelations and the way they forgot their meeting of this day, we shall forget them today. So this would be more literal. So we shall forget them because they forgot the meeting of this day and because they were the ones who are rejecting our revelations. More idiomatic. Wa, and laqad, indeed, ji'nahum, we came to them. Indeed, came to them. Ji'nahum, came to them, bi kitabin, with a book, fassalnahu, in which we detailed out, ala ilmin, with certainty. So we came, literally it would mean, so walaqad ji'nahum, we came, we brought forth, because the word has been used, that walaqad ji'nahum be walaqad ji'nahum be kitabin. So this is like a transitive use of an intransitive word, which means that basically we have brought to them a book, fassalnahu ala ilmin, that we have explained with certainty. Hudan, it is guidance, and rahma, and mercy. Liqaumin, le, for qaumin, people, yu'minun, want to believe. So this is hudan, this is guidance and mercy for nation who wants to believe, for people who wants to believe. Hal is yanzuruna, they wait, illa, except ta'wilahu, the reality. So do they only wait except for the reality of what they are being told of? In fact, that is what being said. Yawma ya'ti ta'wilahu, yawma, the day, ya'ti, comes, ta'wilahu, its reality. The day that will come, its reality, or the day that reality will manifest itself. That is what is idiomatically meant here. Yaqulu allazina, yaqul, say, allazina, those who, nasuhu, who forgot that reality. So those who forgot that reality will say, and that min qabl tells us that those who forgot their reality in the past, when they were in this world. So those very people who had earlier forgotten that reality, what will they say? Qad ja'at, indeed has come, rusulu rabbina, the messengers of our Lord, bil haq, with truth. So indeed the messengers of God had come to us with the truth. So this is what we have already studied, that these very people who had forgotten this day, when that day will actually come, what would they say? They will confess that our Lord's messengers had actually come to us with the truth. Fahallana. So I mean, there is a gap here, which means that we did not accept it. They came with the truth and we still denied it. So now what would they say? Fahallana min shufa'a. Fa, therefore, hal is lana, for us, min shufa'a, any intercessors, fayashfa'u lana, so that they can intercede for us. So now they will say that these messengers did come to us in the previous world, but unfortunately we denied them. So now today, do we get a chance? Do we have an intercession? Any intercession taking place? فَحَلْ لَنَا مِنْ شُفَعَى. So is there for us any intercessor? فَيَشْفَعُ لَنَا, who would intercede? Lana, for us. أَوْ, or nuraddu, we are returned. Return means return back to the previous world. Why? فَنَعْمَلَ, so that we can do deeds غَيْرَ الَّذِي كُنَّا نَعْمَلُ, different from the ones that we used to do. Or what they would say is that if you give another chance, please send us to the previous world once again, so that we can do those deeds غَيْرَ الَّذِي, which are different, kunna na'malu, from the ones that we used to do. Kunna, that we used to, na'mal, do. Qad, indeed, khasiru anfusahum. Khasiru anfusahum, they would deceive themselves. They would be deceiving themselves. Wa zalla anhum, and zalla means lost, anhum, upon themselves. And they would be deceiving themselves, and it would be lost upon them. Ma kanu yaftarun, the iftara that they would be doing, the falsehood that they would be inflicting upon God. So these people, it actually means that kad khasiru anfusahum, these people, they suffered the loss. They themselves inflicted themselves with loss. So kad khasiru anfusahum would mean that they inflicted themselves with loss. Wa zalla anhum, and lost upon them, ma kanu yaftarun, what they used to impute to God. So whatever they used to impute to God will be lost upon them. They will just vanish in thin air. Yaftarun is, of course, iftara, that means falsehood imputed to God. Inna, indeed, Rabbakum, your Lord, Allah is God, your Lord is God. Allazi, who, khalaqa samawat, khalaqa, created, as-samawat, heavens, wal ard, and the earth. Your Lord is God, who created heavens and the earth. Fi, in, sitta, 6, ayyam, days. Who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. Sittati ayyam, 6 days. Sitta is 6, ayyam is days. Summa, then, istawa, he took hold, alal arsh, of his throne. Al arsh is throne. Istawa ala would mean literally to stay and to climb on his throne and to stay there. So summa istawa alal arsh would mean that he actually sat on his throne. Yukhshi, yukhshi means covers. He covers al-layl, the layl. He covers al-layl al-nahar. He covers the layl with the nahar. In other words, he covers the night. He covers the day with the night. He covers the night, the day with the night, because it says yukhshi al-layl al-nahar. The nahar, the day, is covered by the night by him. Yatlubuhu, it follows it. Hasisa. Hasisa means in a swift way. So it's like saying the day comes after the night and the night comes after the day, such that one is looking at the other, or one is seeking the other, hasisa, swiftly, in a very fast way, signaling the fact that they come consecutively and after one another. Wa, and Ash-Shams, the sun. Wa, and Al-Qamar, the moon. The sun and the moon. One, Nujum, and the stars. Nujum is the plural of Najm, and that means stars. Nujum, the sun and the moon and the stars. Musakharatin, are subservient. Bi amrihi, through his orders. So they are subservient to his orders. Allah, beware. Lahu, for him. Al-Khalq, the creation. Wa, and Al-Amr, the governance. Beware, for God is the creation, which means that He is the creator, and for Him is the governance, which means He is the governor. Tabarakallah, blessed is God. Tabaraka, blessed. Allah, God. God is blessed. Rabbul Alameen, Lord of the worlds. Rabb, Lord, Alameen, the worlds. So blessed is God, who is Lord of the worlds. Ud'u, call upon. Rabbakum, your Lord. Rabba, Lord, kum, your. Ud'u Rabbakum, call upon your Lord. Tadarru'an. Tadarru'an would mean while imploring Him, while beseeching Him. Wa, and. Khufya. Khufya means in secrecy or in private. Innahu, indeed He. La, not. Yuhibbu, likes. Al-Mu'tadeen, the transgressors, or those who cross limits. Indeed, He does not. La yuhibbu, He does not like. Al-Mu'tadeen, those who are transgressors, or those who cross the bounds. Wa, and. La, not. Tufsidu, spread disorder. Fil ard, fi, in. Al ard, land. Do not spread disorder in the land. Ba'da, after. Islahiha, after it has been set right. Islah, reformed. Ha referring to the earth. So once the land has been set right, do not spread disorder in it. Wad'uhu, and call God. Wa and ud'uhu, call God. Khawfan, in the state of fear. Wa and tam'a, in the state of hope. So call God both in the state of fear and also in the state of hope. Inna, indeed, rahmatullah, God's mercy, qaribun, near, minal muhsineen, from the righteous. Indeed, God's mercy is near the righteous, is near the people who are thorough. So we now come to an end to this literal and idiomatic translation, and we can have another Q&A regarding this passage or any other question that you might have.
Shwana Ansari, please ask your question.
शुक्रिया बिस्मा। डॉक्टर साहब, ये जो कह रहे हैं कि ये हमारा कोई सिफारिशी है कि हमारे लिए
Yes.
जहन्नम वाले कह रहे हैं सिफारिश कबूल की जाए, तो क्या ऐसा नहीं लगता कि वो ये देख रहे हैं कि अल्लाह ताला जो है वो लोगों को मौका दे रहे हैं सिफारिश का और लोगों की सिफारिश कबूल की जा रही है, तो अब वो उम्मीद में है कि हमारी भी कोई हो, ये ऐसे लगता है क्या?
No, it's slightly different. Actually, you see, remember they thought that they would have the angels or they would have other deities who would intercede for them. So now they are telling, I mean, they are now expressing this wish that do we have those intercessors available for us who we thought we had when we were worshipping them in the previous world? Are they here?
दुनिया में उनके
Yes, correct. So they about them they are saying that are they present? If they are not present, then at least please allow us to go back so that we can do something different than what you already did previously.
Rizwana, please ask your question.
So my first question is that, like, you're explaining very nicely, like word to word meanings. Do we have any book or have you written any book word to word so we can memorize these?
I mean, I have not done so, but you'll find several of them in the market, both in the Urdu language and in the English language. So they have, I mean, they have partitioned the words in small boxes underneath the verse in which you can write the translation and learn the vocabulary at the same time. You just need to go to the market or maybe just Google the word literal translation, books which have literal translation, and maybe you'll find some online as well.
Yeah, there are a lot, but they're not each letter meaning just la, me, bihi, we, just like you're explaining.
Okay, let me, I think I do recall now that there is, we have a teacher, his name is Ishar Ahmed, and if you can give his contact. So he is actually teaching a syllabus in Al-Mawrid Institute, which is here in Lahore, Pakistan. So he is actually conducting this idiomatic and literal translation in person with some students. So if you are somehow able to locate him, I think I have his number as well. He was my student as well. So maybe you can ask him because he's done this for a better part of the Quran as well. It has not been published, but I think he can help you.
That would be great. Please share his number.
Now, Shafqat Saab, please ask your question.
Yes, Sir, you translated Rijalai and Rijalan
Yes.
as prominent. Rijal would mean a person, but how would
Correct.
you translate?
You see, in the Urdu, English, Arabic, so many languages, when you use the common noun in such a way, so I mean, let me try to translate it. If I say rijalun, I would say some people. There are some people who are like that. I mean, when you say the word rijal, you don't have an alif lam on it, and you use it in the sense that some people, there are some people. They are. I mean, you're referring to some special people. This is a connotation that we, do it in Urdu when we say, "Wai banda," wo to banda hai. There is a guy. So you see, you are not signaling or you're not pinpointing that person, but at the same time, you're elevating the status of that person. You'll find lots of examples in your own language, in English, and so many other languages, in which you use a singular word, but you use it in a sense that you are trying to magnify his stature.
Thank you, Dr. Saab, and thank you very much for this idiomatic and literal translation. It is helping us immensely, I can say for myself. I've learned a lot. Thank you very much.
I'm so glad to know this.
I'm 30-40% already in it. Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you.
So I do not have any raised hands right now. If anybody has any questions pertaining to the passage, Okay, Asif, please go ahead, ask your question.
Yes, this question is about the verse 54. Here I want to, get clarity about the, you can say it as Tarkib and Nahwi of this verse. Here, وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ وَالنُّجُومَ مُسَخَّرَاتٍ. So, whether is it something explaining, and it is something explaining previously the words fi sittati ayam summa stawa, or if it is not the case, then what is the subject of these objects, washamsa wal qamara?
I mean, it is already mentioned there, musakharatam bi amrihi. They have been brought to order, they have been brought to subservient bi amrihi, with God's amr, with God's directive. So it's not mentioned in the sense that you would say it's not in the active sense. What is being said is this sun and this moon and these stars, they are musakharat, they have been subjugated bi amrihi, with his amr. So basically it's in the passive sense, it's not in the active sense.
Dr. I wanted to ask about this verse that I think is in Surah Baqarah. I'm going through a difficult time in my life, and I feel that if I had not known about Surah Kahf and the incident or the story of Hazrat Khizr with Hazrat Musa, you know, how life doesn't make sense at all at times, and you cannot make head or tails of it. You know, I would not find a center if it was not up to this story in Surah Kahf. But what I want to ask you is about death. There is this verse, if I remember correctly, in Surah Baqarah, where God is saying that these Bani Israel, they say about themselves that they have been promised paradise, and when they pass on to the next world, they are the only nation who have been promised paradise. So if that is so, why do they love life so much, and why don't they hasten to come to me, and why don't they hasten to call upon death to come to them?
Yes,
and yet,
correct.
Sir, in a normal ordinary life, if you say to somebody, okay, I feel like I have nothing more to do here in this life, and every day is going to be the exact same as it was yesterday, and it would be okay for me to be sort of like, for my time to end. Everybody and all the scholars as well, and all the learned, wise people, your elders, your friends, are always saying, no, you should not wish for that. You should wish for a life which has, because it is a gift, and you should make use of that gift, and who knows what God has intended for you still. But why is it so wrong when God is saying that if you were righteous, then you would be wishing for death?
So, I mean, look at the fact that he's not addressing this to the believers. He is addressing this to the disbelievers. He's telling them that if you like, so much what you are presenting, then why don't you come to me and have that gift that you would like, that you think that you already have. So, I mean, this is like adding insult to injury. It's not something meant literally. It's like telling them that, look what you are asking for. If you are so desirous of that, then why don't you come to me and I'll give you that? You see, it's not meant in the sense that you are making sense of it. It's like making them realize that they are doing a very foolish thing. On the contrary, with believers, he has always said this, that remember that this life is a trial, it's a test. All of us, we are passing through various trials, adversities. Some people are passing through the trials of lots of diseases that they go through, afflictions that unbearable, terminal sickness. Then there are people who pass through trials which, of course, are related to poverty, scarcity. They don't have things to eat. They have difficult to make their two ends meet. And then we have similar trials that the one that you're going through, that they have lost some dear departed. So you see, these trials should not make you run away from them. That is what God wants us. He wants us to stare the challenge in the eye, to persevere in the wake of adversities, to say God, thank you for what I have, and if I don't have something, I'll show this perseverance, because you see, it is this perseverance and this patience that is going to take you closer to God. That is going to make you a stronger person. When you pass through afflictions and when you pass through trials, you become stronger than before. You get a reasonably more chance to come closer to God, because in good circumstances, when you are living comfortably, I mean, God is there for you, but you are not so concerned with God. But when you are passing through these trying circumstances, it gives you an opportunity to come closer to God. So see, these are all the hikmah or the wisdom behind these trials. And remember, at the end of everything, God has blessed us with this life. It is an opportunity to gain for yourself, to do service for others, to be of service for others, to serve mankind, to help mankind, and to dwell in this world in the sense that you live for the hereafter, but you work for the hereafter in this world. And then, most of all, to further the legacy of the people that you loved. If your mother or your father have passed away, so they must have left some good legacy for you. They must have instructed you, groomed you, mentored you, and in the sense, if you do those good deeds for what they mentored you, then they are going to get a reward for that as well. So you would become a source of reward for them, and it gives you motivation that if I am staying in this world with a purpose, so every good thing that I learned from my parents is going to go into their record as a good deed as well. So I should do as much so that they can benefit as well. So I think these are so many aspects of motivation that should actually motivate you and inspire you to be more righteous, to be more God conscious, to serve humankind more as much as you can.
Yeah, actually, my question is about prayer. So, when especially female, we are at home alone, and can we do prayer a little bit loud so we can hear ourselves?
Oh yes, absolutely. That's perfectly okay, and that is something that even men should do, so that, I mean, you can hear your voice, because that is a means of concentrating and focusing your attention.
Yeah, because when I was doing like little bit loud, so I can hear myself because I have memorized the whole namaz, so I can focus on what I'm saying. But when I'm doing like little slow, and even I can't hear myself, so that's my focus divert, and I get other
Yes,
thoughts.
I know, understand. So it's perfectly okay if you speak, I mean, to this extent that you can hear your own words.
That's good. Okay, good to know. So second is that like if you're doing namaz and if you forgot you did 4 rakat or 3 rakat, so can you redo it? I know there is
I mean, you don't need to redo it. You don't need to redo it. So you just make a rough estimation. For example, if you say your salam and you think that you have said just 3 rakat, you just stand up and offer that 1 rakat that you missed. And you don't need to say all the 3. I mean, again, you have already said those 3. So you stand up, pray 1 rakat, and sit in your attayat and say salam, and do a sajda of sahwa. That's all.
no. So if you're doing it, if you're just doing 4 rakat again, so is there any harm?
I mean, repeating the whole namaz. I mean, there's no harm in it, but you see, this is something of a concession given to us, that if we are pretty sure that we have prayed 3 rakat, we've offered for 3 rakat, we don't need to repeat them. I mean, if you wish to do that, I mean, no one can stop you, it's okay, but it's not required actually.
So we can do only the last one. I mean,
That is it.
only
Correct.
one. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Adil Qureshi has a question. Adil, go ahead. We just have a couple of minutes to just make it short. Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up, Dr. Shah, to the last question. I think there is some sort of some sort of a limit as well, right? You said salam, but as long as you're facing the Kaaba and you remember that you forgot
No,
one.
these are all juristic constraints that have been imposed by our jurists. There's no such thing that you need to follow. I mean, even if you remember after some time, let's say you have just folded up your prayer mat, you maybe went to somewhere and suddenly you realize that you just prayed 3. Even then you can come back, or wherever you are, you can just pray 1 rakat. So all these other things which people have fixed, that you should be on the prayer mat or you should still be facing the Qibla, these are all human impositions.
Okay, thank you, sir.